Hello, everybody. Welcome to Informatics 109. I'm Chris Francis. I do go by Chris. Don't worry about any formalities with me. Just I go by my first name. Oh, yeah, that's who was just there. Wait till they come in and then we'll. Okay. So getting started here. There we go. Okay, we were just getting started for those who just came in. I'm Chris. I'll be teaching this course this semester. Hopefully it's going to be kind of a fun course. There's a statewide shell. Everybody in IT has to take this course. This is one of the 3 courses everybody in IT has to take. And for the last couple of years, the standard statewide shell, people have been less than happy. I'll put it that way. Who are not excited. Like, to give you an example, in that, if you took it with Ivy Online, in module 2, they have you write 3 400 to 500 word essays. And that is a typical week. It has not been leaving people very happy with the class. And last summer, I sat down and revamped a version for Sellersburg. So far, people have enjoyed it. It's a lot more hands-on, active learning. The general summary I'm going to give for this class is this is the IT vocabulary class. This is where we learn to speak like an IT person. Lots of terminology, things like that. But there's some other things going on here as well. In our modern world, a lot of the words you may have heard just used, but not known like the formal definitions of them, things like that. So big focus is, that's why there's so many writing assignments with that online when they cover that by just writing essay after essay after essay, but that does not leave people happy. Informatics itself, I'm gonna start with this. So just the idea of informatics. Where's my camera remote? Is this the camera? Maybe.
That was the TV remote.
Whoa. I don't know how to equip what I just did. Wait, that's not. Why are there 2 TV remotes?
There's 2 TVs.
I have to turn which one off?
Turn that one off and then we'll go back to that.
And the same TV though.
Oh, they should be showing the same thing. Go to settings. Picture. Oh, that button, source. There we go. There it is. Okay. Figuring out the remotes, these are different. Maybe this is the camera remote. What? I hope I can hit cancel on that error message and not affect it. Can you all on the Zoom call still hear me? Maybe not. Hopefully it's still working. Well, my video is still showing up, so hopefully that's still working. Does this go to the camera? There we go. Let me zoom in on. Zoom in so I can draw. So there's a picture I saw originally with IUPUI's informatics program. This topic itself is one that a lot of people are interested in. So they sort of the icon or logo for the program at IUPUI involves a triangle. Down at the bottom, the base of the triangle or base of a pyramid might fit better in a sentence. the two things we most often think of with computing. So software or sort of the computer science side, all of the software running on it, what the data that's being processed, everything on the machine and the hardware side, which is in the various types of electrical engineering, different labels we can put on there. But software and hardware are the general categories most people first think of. Informatics is what ties those together. Tying those together to make it useful, make technology useful and applicable for people. Well, I originally wrote the word computer science, that science, that abstract reasoning, the theories, which sound so nice in theory, but may not always go so well in practice. We take all that stuff, and then the hardware that it's running on, which kind of the same thing. We can put together some really nice hardware, but if nobody can use it, what's the point? So informatics ties it together, makes the technology, software and the hardware useful and applicable for people, which kind of means it's the catch-all thing, the one that has a little bit of everything. So if you're studying software or IT support, software development, IT support, maybe cybersecurity, you'd focus on one particular thing. And that's what you would take most of your classes studying. If you were studying for an informatics degree, you would take a little bit of everything. It has a wider sampling of everything. So that's one of the things we'll do in this course, is a general survey of all of the fields with School of IT here at Ivy Tech to make sure you're in the right program. I often like to say happiness is worth a lot. People come here to school, start studying to get a good job and a good paycheck, right? So everybody's here. I see head nods here in the classroom. I assume head nods on the Zoom calls as well. That's what we're here for. And all of the fields of IT pay well. Some of them pay better than others. So if they all pay well, doing what you really enjoy is worth a lot. Right? The highest paying one's going to be data analytics. But a lot of people wouldn't like data analytics. People that like the hardware stuff would not like being a data analyticist just for that bigger paycheck. Right? The happiness they get from crawling around in networking closets and tracking down a bad cable is worth a lot. Because all of them come with a good paycheck. So it's not like you're going to get an IT degree and then have not make good money. Just some make better than others. But one of the things we want to do is that catch-all, the broad survey of IT. Make sure you're in the right field. It's one of the things every week we're going to look at what's basically a different program from school. School of IT has 7 programs. We have 8 modules. So basically we're going to do a different program every module. So whenever we get to the module that is related to your program, like maybe you're a network infrastructure person. I think that's module 4. I have to check the list. It's coming up in just a couple of weeks. You want to pay close attention to that module and make sure that's what you like. But maybe a couple of weeks later, we get the cybersecurity module and just enjoy that way, way better than the networking module. Make sure you're right fit, I guess. The right fit for the field you're going into. So general survey of that. Learning to speak like an IT person, so it's a lot of vocabulary. That's why the online course is all writing. But it leaves people miserable, which then makes it impossible for me to talk people into switch into the informatics degree, because the only memory they have is the informatics 109 class. So hopefully it's going to be an enjoyable class the way I set it up. It's all labs, hands-on stuff every week. We'll be doing a lot of stuff. The third thing we'd like to get from this course, since everybody has to take it and almost everybody takes it the first semester, is all the stuff we want to take for granted and throughout the rest of your college pathway. If you've looked ahead, you've noticed there's assignments that are just like a Word document assignment. Make sure you know how to use Microsoft Word. Make sure you can set up files and folders and organize stuff on a computer. Make sure you can use a spreadsheet. Make sure you can make a presentation in a slide deck in PowerPoint or Google Slides or Present or whichever one you use. I use lots of different systems. So I carry my backpack around, this backpack with me every time, everywhere. And it always has at least a PC, a Chromebook, and a MacBook, a tablet, and a VR system. So if you're doing like, if you're a Mac user and you're more familiar with the presentation software there, and want to put your slide deck together there, that is fine. I think the instructions are written up for Microsoft Word, but use any of them. Use Google. I'm a Google Docs user myself, so as long as it's a document editor, but that sort of software, which anymore is kind of trivial. Trying to quickly estimate the ages of the room, people in the room. Those are going to be easy A's for you all, right? I've probably done that since been using that software since you were babies. But we're not quite ready to completely release it yet. There are some people that might not be familiar with it, and then we cover that here, and then in all your other classes, it can be taken for granted. The instructor can just be like, okay, make a presentation, and they know you know how to put a slide deck together in some sort of software. Canva makes really, really nice slide decks. But the instructions are probably for Microsoft Word. But that's getting into assignments and stuff. We'll talk about that some. Soon. First, we want to talk about course policies and all of that stuff. Is this anybody's first class at Ivy Tech? I'm guessing not then. So you know how to get to Ivy Learn and all of that. Okay, so all of our stuff is set up on Ivy Learn already. Physical classroom and virtual, along with a virtual option. There's some stuff I'm going to talk about here in a few minutes about the particular modality this course is in. There's been some confusion around that all over the state of Indiana, so we're going to take a little bit of time this semester and make sure that's clear up. People know what type of course they're signing up for. So we'll look at that. And, I'll actually pull up the actual policy, which is also show you where the official policies for the school are. That way you'll know how to dig those up. We'll get to that in a moment. First off is just on syllabus, the contact info. That's probably an important one. Y'all know how it goes. We get notifications about everything if we don't stop them, right? During the semester, when a course is running, the only two things that make noise on my phone are text messages and the Ivy Learn inbox. So those are by far the quickest way to get a hold of me. The Ivy Learn inbox is the official communication channel for course. If you haven't used that before, or in inbox. There was an update recently, so they synced it to go with the school regular email as well. And since they did that, it seems to take about 45 minutes before the notifications get pushed through to my phone. So that slowed it down from being the quickest way, but the inbox and text messages are the only two things that make noise on my phone during the semester when course is running. If you haven't used this before, it's an email program. Just like email, only it's pre-filtered for the class. So just choose the course, and when you click the buttons, you can only send a message to the people involved in the class. So like, send me a message, just choose it from a list. A lot easier than remembering emails and stuff. Lots of email addresses and all that stuff too. That's the official communication channel. Somewhere I have notes. Any way you have to get a hold of me is fine if you have a question, but there is an official way, so it's nice to repeat messages in the official slot for record keeping. You send me a bunch of text messages with questions on homework, we get that worked out, and later make a note, send something in the inbox when you have time to if it's something that you feel there should be official records kept about. Because text messages are on my personal phone, so that's not part of the official school record. We might want to keep them for, if you want to keep them for some reason or other, just keep them there. I have lots of office hours. Monday and Wednesday, I'm there pretty much all day. I'm the chair for a couple of programs, so I have to put on my schedule. Some are student-facing office hours, and some are listed as administrative hours. That's what it says on the piece of paper hanging on the door, but if I'm in my office, I'm in my office. So from 11 to 1:30, I do listed as office hours, and then from the lunch break, and then from 2 to 4:30 is listed as administrative hours. So Monday and Wednesday, all afternoon, basically, I'll be in my office, which is downstairs, over on the other side of campus from our classroom is now, downstairs, right by the stairs in the middle of the hall, right by all the IT labs. Office number 160. I'll be in there before this class. I have a class earlier in the afternoon, so between the afternoon class and our class, I scheduled an hour office hours. And I also do office hours on Sunday because nobody does their homework in the middle of the week. So the Wednesday morning office hours aren't the time that anybody's going to have homework questions, right? Everybody's doing their homework on Sunday, so I try to have at least a spot available on Sunday, 4 to 5 o'clock, and that one's purely Zoom. And unless I'm in another meeting, I do log on to this Zoom call when I'm in my regular office. So the whole time I'm in my office, I have one of the computers logged into this Zoom call. Unless I'm in another meeting where I'll be talking a lot there, but usually lots of time to get a hold of me there. I'm going to try VR office hours. I've tried a couple things. Mozilla made a nice little interactive world. It's kind of cross systems, so it was originally intended to be a VR system, but Mozilla is the same people that make Mozilla Firefox. You can go there in the browser, and you can also go there as a phone app. And everybody that's tried it so far agrees that the phone app is by far the easiest way to navigate it. So also have a couple of different VR accounts, but I want to try that. It's coming around, so it might be a good way to interact with things. So when in Mozilla, it can bring in all the virtual models of things and interact with them. Like, seems a better way to do the virtual stuff than just a Zoom call, where all we have is a video and a microphone, or a lot of times just a microphone. But that's there. If anybody wants to try it, I can send you a link to the room I keep open, or one of the rooms I have open for that. You can try that. But lots of ways to get a hold of me. Going through here, y'all can read, so I'm just going to hit some high points here. The EdTech group, educational technology, that's the people in charge of Ivy Learn. If you have any trouble with the LMS software or learning management software in particular, this is who you would reach out to. But right now, we don't have a Sellersburg person for that. So the Sellersburg office for that position is empty. But I know a bunch of people up at this systems office in Indianapolis. So if you have problems with Ivy Learn, you can get a hold of me. I can reach out to the people in Indianapolis directly, and that might be quicker than, but you can't just click this and submit a help desk to get to them, and they will get it before long. I just want to point out on disability support, one thing, obviously this is America in 2023, so there's lots of accommodations if anybody needs them. One thing that catches a lot of people off guard as they move from high school into college, though, is in high school, that is a fully automated process. You don't have to do anything. The people in the office, the administrators, they have your records, they set it all up, they do everything, and you never have to think about it. Well, once you're an adult, or in an adult situation, because a lot of times high school people who start attending college before graduating high school, maybe 16, 17, but they're in an adult situation. So they're going to be treated as an adult. And at that point, disability information becomes private. That's medical information. That's that's considered private. So it's not fully automated like it is for the high school system. So if you had accommodations in high school, or if you need extra time on tests, something to help take notes, reading aids, there's lots and lots of accommodations. If you need some, you want to reach out to those people. If you had some in high school, the process isn't fully automatic. You have to take the first step. Afterwards, it'll be like what you're used to. But you have to take that first step and let them know that, oh, I need help and need the accommodator, not help and need accommodations. You have to let them know that you need it because they don't automatically know like the high school. It's private medical information. That one catches a lot of people off guard, especially their first semester. They don't realize they have to contact disability services the first time. But then after that, there's some great people working in that department. They will do everything needs done. Send me an email, tell me everything I need to do, and all the adjustments and accommodations that need put in place will be put in place. But the first step is you do have to take the first step. Learning Commons is where the tutoring's at. I'll be in there on Fridays when I don't have another meeting. I told her to schedule me from 11 to 2 on Fridays. There's other IT people. Usually people don't need a lot of help from this class. There are some writing assignments in this class, so maybe on the essay, see a writing tutor, but lots of tutoring. So writing, math, technology, most of the subjects taught at Ivy Tech, there's tutoring for. Because of construction, they've moved to a temporary location in Fowl Hall. If you go in the big front door and walk down the tiled hall, does everybody know where the academic advising office is? See a couple head nods. Okay, so if you walk in the front, if you know where the academic advisors are, it's the next door past the academic advisors. But you go to the in the big front door, the big glass wall, and you kind of veer to the left. It's almost like straight ahead or veer left a little bit. There's a big hallway with big fancy tiles on the floor. You go down that, and when you walk in the door, you're almost facing straight in the bookstore. So not counting the bookstore, but as you go down that hallway, there's a hallway up to the side, and then the second door on your right is where the tutors are found. Math, writing, IT, lots and lots and lots of subjects. There's plenty of help there for that. Ivy Life is where the clubs are found. We have a very active technology club. After the pandemic, humans are a very social species. Sometimes it's nice to be by ourselves and get some privacy, but not for 3 years straight. So when things came back to campus, a lot of people reformed clubs quickly, and our technology club grew to 30 members within 1 semester, which is the biggest I've ever seen the computer club here. People were ready to be around each other, and they do lots of stuff. I just talked to the club president right before our class here, and on Wednesday, every Wednesday night, they're going to have a big D&D game. This is open for anybody that wants to come. I probably should have asked him what time that was. But in the first 8 weeks, it was like 5 or 6-ish. Got started as people got here around 5 or 6, and then went until campus closed 1 night a week. And they do other events too, but a very active technology club if anybody's interested in that. And there are other clubs, lots of them out there. Testing centers, you can read that. We don't have any proctored exams in this class. A statement about the library is being remodeled right now. They have it's going to be different after the remodel. They have all the books like, I came up here and I walked out with this like 4 armloads, as many books as I could carry. They offered a cart, and I was tempted, but I was like, I should probably limit myself to the number of books I can carry. That seems a more reasonable amount. But it's remodeling, and afterwards it's gonna be nice. They're gonna have a real coffee bar, cappuccino machines, cappuccino espresso machines, and all that. And, lots of glass walls, so big and open. But for the time being, we have to deal with construction a little bit. Everybody knows that around campus. Some doors are closed. It's up in the front, building really nice labs. The chemistry lab here that was here was obviously a chemistry lab built in the 1960s. Things have changed a lot since then, so there's going to be a modern chemistry lab. And a number of people are excited about that. It's mostly the health science department is the ones getting new stuff, and other departments are getting coats of paint and things like that. the construction does still affect us, as y'all here in the classroom notice. We're not in a computer lab. Usually this class is in a computer lab, but all the computer labs were full because we're short of classrooms while everything's shuffled around for that. But that won't be much of a problem in this class at all. We'll talk about stuff and then have extra time to do stuff. And at least one of the classes that's down in the computer labs is probably only going to be there one night a week. They're gonna do the one night in the classroom and one night virtual. So we can just hop down there and use the lab on the nights they're not there. Or we'll figure something out if we need to. But most people have laptops. Does everybody have some sort of device they carry? See a few around here, or a device you can use. If not, let me know. We can work something out. The next department here, Ivy Cares, they do have loaner laptops if anybody needs one. If you're an IT student and you're saving up for a laptop, a nice laptop might take a while to save up for. So they do have loaner ones. They're not the nicest ones, but they will work to write essays and check your email and fill the basic need for the time being. And there are open slots, just there weren't any open slots in the computer lab at 6 o'clock on a Tuesday night when this class was scheduled for. One thing I do want to point out here, y'all can read through a lot of this link right here, ivassist.auntbertha.com. From time to time, everybody needs help. That's just a fact of life, right? Sometimes we need some help. And in our society, we know the help's available, but going and finding that is a bit of a problem, right? First of all, we have to go do a bunch of Google searches and see if we can figure out what help there is. And we have to start searching around, trying to find the application. And then we have to do more searches to figure out who to send it to. Somebody consolidated all of those steps. And this isn't the help directly itself, but it's a database of links to all the help that's available. So one spot that you can go and see what's there, link to the application and all of that. So it's Ivy Assist. So ivassist.auntbertha.com. That pulls up this screen where you'll enter your zip code. I live in Clarksville, so that's the one that's usually on my mind. So I'll just enter Clarksville zip code. Oh, this happened again this time. That was a different number in this afternoon's class. So there were 2,126 programs at 1 o'clock or 1:30 this afternoon. So it's dynamic, it changes, maybe not live time, but at least a few times a day it updates and keeps track of things. And that's just around the Clarksville area. So maybe you need help paying for gas. That's a common one. This is one a lot of people don't know is still around. So help pay for gas. The people who worked in restaurants before everything shut down in 2020, people that survived off tips, obviously they were in quite a bind when the tips could no longer flow. The government set up a bunch of programs. I believe the one for groceries has been exhausted, but the one for gas, they haven't finished running through that. They haven't finished that money yet. So if you work formally in a restaurant, then the government will still pay for your gas. And I think that's still available because a lot of people don't know that's there. But it's there until it runs out of money. And they apparently put a whole lot of money in that program because it's been going for 3 years now. Other things, food pantries, that's a common one. There is a food pantry here in Ivy Tech. Yeah, right at Ivy, there's a food pantry right here in Ivy Tech. That's a common one. All sorts of things under diapers. Somebody has little kids at home or newborns. You can get assistance with diapers and formula and all that stuff that the EBT cards don't pay for some reason. Never has made sense to me why food stamps won't cover diapers. That's sort of a necessity, but have to go to other programs to get things like that. But all of the help consolidated into one place. I like to point that one out because everybody needs help from time to time. And it's available in our society, but it can be really hard to find. So somebody at around Ivy Tech went ahead and took the time to consolidate that. And basically, as a full-time person working on that, it stays up to date within a couple of hours time. So next up into our course stuff. So here's the book for our course, which is a little bit different. If you had other courses, you probably saw it in, I used to use an Ivy Plus bookshelf for this Engage Mind Hack. I looked through a lot of books. The one the statewide course shell used, I wasn't super happy with. So I looked through a lot of books, and there's one that was actually just connected to a Mind App. So I couldn't put it in the regular bookshelves because it's listed as a Mind App, and then the book is a supplemental resource for that. The Mind Tap part was I don't want to say the word I almost said there. I did not, and it was not my preference on how assignments would be. It was one of those where there's videos, and all you can do is watch the videos. You can't speed them up, you can't slow them down. If you pause them, you have to start back at the beginning. Those things. And some of those videos were clearly from like the late 1970s, early 1980s. So I turned all those off. But I really like the book that went with it. Oops. So if we go in modules, so to get to the book, you go to modules, and right up here at the top, you'll see the one with the name, New Perspectives on Computer Concepts, 2018, which in June, they have a 2020 coming out, a little bit newer. I would still like to see something with 21 or 22 on it, but 2018 is not that long ago. So the general concepts are still the same. And if you click that link for modules and go in here, you might have to, it should sign you in and everything automatically. You shouldn't have to set up an account or anything. I set it up to link to our link or shell, so it'll go in here. And then all of that stuff, the mind tap stuff that wouldn't necessarily be my preference for how to teach this material, I just shut all that off. What we need is the over here on the right, which is kind of behind the, and move Zoom thumbnails out of the way. Those things are always in the way. Over here on the right, about halfway down, is the option for the full book. So you just hit that and maximize. And then I was playing around with settings and I accidentally turned the audio thing off on my Cengage. I'm pretty sure it's only on my account. So right around here, you should see the little speaker icon where it'll read the book to you. A lot of people like to do that. Set it as an audio book while you're doing other stuff or working along and stuff and just listen to it. But I was playing around with settings and I can't figure out where I moved the icon to. But I'm pretty sure that was just on my account. You should see a little speaker. Looks like this. To just read the to read all the book, but that's Zoom thumbnails on this machine are in my way. Oh, well, I'm talking about two machines. If anybody goes to send me a direct message in Zoom at some point, I always use my own laptops because I kind of like the computers I have access to do stuff on, as opposed to the school's computers that are all kinds of locked down. So the Zoom call started on that so I can use the nice camera and microphone here, but I'm on my laptop, so make sure you send any DMs to my laptop. It'll say Chris and like this one, Chris PC or Chris MacBook, Mac, or Chris CB, I think is what the Chromebook says. It'll be obvious which computer I'm on.
How do you log in if it didn't auto fill you in on the book site?
Is there a create account?
Yeah.
You might need to create an account. It's looking at the roster, and if you don't already have a Cengage one from a previous account, you'll have to create one. It should have went right to that. But I might have to, I'll double check everything later because last fall it just logged everybody in, and then they have to create accounts, but give that a try, see if that works. But that's where our textbook's located. And the quizzes are based right off of that. There's a weekly quiz off the reading chapters each week. Yeah, if you expanded, like, I can't remember what chapter we're in the first week, but just kind of read through all the different stuff. And the weekly quizzes are based right off the book. Like, there was a whole lot of copy paste when I put the quizzes together. It is straight out of the textbook, which also means that things like Control F will be very, very useful when you take the quizzes. It's based straight off of the book. There should be a word for word match, a lot of word for word matches. I changed it up some, but I was reading the textbook when I wrote the quizzes, and a whole lot of copy and paste. So, did that get your account? Did that get you in?
I believe so.
Okay. Yeah, all the videos and stuff. I turned all the mind tap stuff off. It's videos to watch and some odd activities that it wanted you to do them in a certain way. Everybody's seen those things. It was one of those setups, but I like the book that went with it, so I just figured to use that book. So going on through here, something just general for Ivy Tech is in every course you'll take, you'll see this course outline of record. That's the official catalog entry about what the course is about, description, credit hours, all of that. But right, one of the things on there will be this list right here, major course learning objectives. I'll come back and point this out near the end of the semester too. The name's not hiding anything. The stuff we're supposed to learn in all the courses. So for our course, I'll remind you about this, but not just our course, and all of your courses at Ivy Tech, as you get near the end of the semester, always look back at this list. It's required to be in your syllabus, so it will be in every syllabus that you have here. And make sure you feel like you learned all the stuff you're supposed to learn. If the course is a prerequisite for other courses, when you get in there, they're going to expect that you know everything on this list. They're often phrased vaguely. That way there's still some room for interpretation in them. But you will see that list everywhere. And I guess another way to think about it is getting your money's worth out of college, right? This is that checklist to make sure you got what you paid for in the course. So at the end of the semester, make sure you can check all that stuff off in all of your classes. I'll remind you about that in here. So that's the stuff we're gonna, if you wanna look there, that's the basic things we're gonna look at in this course and more. But that was an important bunch of stuff to read. So I just copy and pasted all that. Should be straightforward. Everybody's adults, knows the cultural standards and stuff. If there's any high schoolers in the class, you're in an adult situation. It's my phrase, my statement, everybody's an adult here still applies, right? Even if that technicality of the 18th birthday hasn't rolled around yet. There's not a solid line for that change, right? If you're in a college course, you're an adult. Instructional method. Oh, I copied and pasted wrong here. So this is not a Learn Anywhere course, but I copied and pasted that for my Learn Anywhere when I need to edit that afterwards. Make a note. So I will correct that after class because we are in a blended course. And that was the thing I kind of alluded to earlier. We wanted to make sure we know all those policies. So this is a blended course. Oh, I didn't even put the right room number on there. I hope nobody was actually looked at your schedule. I copied and pasted and I must have intended to do a bunch of editing there and didn't get back and edit it. But this paragraph's wrong. I'll edit it after class. But this is a blended course, right? On the schedule, it said on campus with online content. Everybody see that? But then when we talk about it, we use the word blended. And perhaps it's people aren't quite sure what's blended, what's learned anywhere, when the words that we use when we talk about it aren't the same words that show up on the schedule. So they'll see that online content and think, oh, okay, that sounds like a remote class. I can take this. And that's led to a couple problems because blended courses do have an on-campus requirement. Whoops, that's not what I was supposed to open. Let me close that. If we go to My Ivy and see what all the courses are about, under tools and resources, and the resources tab, if you scroll down a little, you'll see this thing right here, which official policies, documentation. It sounds like it is really like reading legal documents. It's not an interesting read, but from time to time you may need to look. All the ones that pertain to students were also copied and pasted from here into the student handbook. But academic support and operations manual, there's an M at the end there. You might hear people around here say ASOM, the acronym for Academic Support and Operations Manual. That's all the official policies. So I'm just going to go to the search bar and search for blended. That's what our course is. And chapter 6, section 10 has the different modalities for course instruction. And it's a legal document, right? All of that official stuff up top, who's responsible, a bunch of vocabulary terms, like here's the words that get used in this document and exactly what they mean. But we scroll down past that, eventually we'll get down to instructional modality definitions. Traditional, I think everybody knows what that one is, right? That's everybody goes to campus, sits in the same room at the same time, heads home at the same time. That one's kind of phasing out. There's not many of those still around unless it is very obvious that that's what that's going to be. So like the nursing classes, they still have some of those, especially in their clinicals where they have to go to the hospital and treat patients, because you can't do that remotely. Yeah, the only way to do that is the same way nurses have treated patients for thousands of years. So that's still traditional. The HVAC people, HVAC technicians, they have some traditional classes because you can't take apart a central air system and put it back together from home. Well, I guess you could do it from home, but that would require all the students to buy one. And typical students can't afford an extra heating and air system just to take it apart. Same thing with the robotics program, the advanced manufacturing. They have some fairly expensive robots and large conveyors systems and all of that. Really fancy stuff that is way, way more than the typical student can afford. So there's still a few around, they're obvious, but there's not many of them left anymore. This course goes with general IT. And the only thing an IT guy needs to be on site for is to plug in loose cables. Everything else can be done remotely. As long as there's somebody to plug in the cable, plug in any loose cables, like what delayed a start of our class earlier today. I didn't know which loose cable it was. Had to go to get the IT guy to fix the Learn Anywhere equipment so we could run class. But most of IT can be done remotely, which actually all of our homework labs, there's step-by-step instructions in the labs. And I set them up to work with our regular School of IT labs, the ones downstairs, where most of your IT classes probably are. But there's classes in all three of them right now, so we'll talk about that in a little while. Online is the asynchronous course. That's everybody just does their own schedule. Everything's set up ahead of time. There's no lecture. There's an instructor that can answer emails and grade homework, but there's no time where everybody meets. And there's even a clause in here that if there is one of those criteria, there has to be an alternative for people to earn the points without meeting that criteria. So you can't have anything synchronous in an online course without also giving an option for the people that that can't make it. That's purely online. So these are the three that mostly concern us with the classrooms, the on-campus ones. So virtual, that's what we all saw in 2020. 2020 to 2022, right? Everything shut down and basically the world operated through Zoom calls. That's purely virtual. It's synchronous. There's a set time. We all meet at the same time, still give a little class lecture. It's just done through Zoom. Blended format, this is the one we're in. A combination of traditional and either online or virtual. Mostly it's traditional and virtual, combination of those two. But there's this little clause right here. It can be in the classroom or it can be virtual, but it specifically says not at the same time. So what's going on here with some people on the Zoom call and some people in the classroom technically fails that policy right there, right? However, 1/3 1/3 is what the policy applies to. So we have to do 1/3, it has to count for 1/3. 8 weeks, 2 days a week. I have a conference in late April up in Indianapolis I have to attend. So I'll be in the hotel room for a couple days and class will be canceled once, which leaves us 15 class sessions. Which means the third's easy, right? 5 days. There's going to be 5 days with required attendance. I'm still working out the details on how to figure that out. Personally, I really like to learn anywhere. And until it was explicitly stated over the weekend, like 3 days ago, I was going to treat all my classes as learn anywhere. But I think it's causing problems because of that requirement, that on-campus requirement and blended. People would see it say with online content, and be like, oh, that's remote. So maybe they live in East Chicago and sign up for a Sellersburg class. Definitely can't make that on-campus requirement, or vice versa. Maybe people from Sellersburg sign up for a class out of Fort Wayne. Ivy Tech is all across the state. Learn anywhere classes, we can do that. So for learn anywhere, blended says with online content, and learn anywhere says on campus with online option. So you want to look for that word option to know if you can do it fully remote. So there is going to be 5 days for this attendance requirement. I'm still trying to figure out exactly how to handle that, what to do, because personally, I really like to learn anywhere thing. And I am going to be here on campus every Tuesday. It's Tuesday, right? Yeah. Every Tuesday and Thursday, except for the end of April when I'll be at that conference. Every Tuesday and Thursday, I'll be here on campus, broadcasting across Zoom and recording. So that if you need to pick up an extra shift at work to make some extra money and wait till the weekend to watch the lecture or something, that's fine. That's the way I really like it, but I do have to meet that criteria. So 5 days are going to count. There is an attendance and participation part of the grade. It's a small part. Attendance and participation is 7% of the grade. I do that. So what matters is if you can do the work, right? If you can get an A in the class and never once set foot in the classroom, then you can still get an A in the class, right? So I'm not going to force the issue. But other people show up at every single class, work really, really hard, and I'm going to get that extra little bonus for the people to do that. Right? Because that would be an extreme example that I just mentioned. Most people they'll pass without ever showing up in classroom or listening to a lecture, looking back at the videos or anything. They might pass. But other people show up every single time, work really hard, and put a lot of extra effort in. So I like to give that last little boost. It's 7% of the grade, so with other points that might get marked off along the way, really it's the A range. So get up to a B, and then attendance and participation pushes you into the A. That 7% is for the whole semester. So those 5 days that I have to do some sort of requirement for that blended modality, that's 1/3 of 7%, which is 2.3%. So I'm trying to figure out something. I'm still working on the exact details on how I'm going to handle that, because In general, I'm going to treat it like Learn Anywhere. I'm going to be here on campus broadcasting across Zoom and recording it. Because I also did that before the pandemic shut everything down. Because I mostly teach software development. Which means class examples are just big text files. Really, even if everybody's in the same room sitting in the front row, it's hard to read that from like a projector or something. So I was doing that before everything even got shut down a lot of times, but I have to come up with something to do for those 5 days. When we get to the hardware section, I dropped it previously, but I used to do like little soldering things, like take machine apart. That might be a good one to get. I'll grab some machine. I have several of my. I have a big box of stuff, circuit boards and stuff. We pull out soldering and show you how to solder. Take apart the PCBs and SMTs and put them back together and do that. Or grab a desktop tower and a server. And I think I have at least one old laptop of my own that we can just open up and take apart and get our hands on some stuff during that hardware section. So I think it's week 2 or 3. So that might be coming up soon. So that'll be the first one to expect the requirement, because hardware is a good one to be there for. I guess that is the one that does require the IT person to be on site. Can't take apart a computer from 200 miles away. At least not yet. But robots are improving. Before long, we'll be actually put that on the wish list for School of IT equipment. It's a little palm-sized robot that can handle a screwdriver and can be controlled from across the internet, so it can crawl around. And then we could remotely take apart another computer and put it back together with that little robot. But that little robot's kind of expensive right now. We'll figure out what to do with those. But hopefully, I'll try to make sure it's interesting days, like the hardware day where we take apart a server. Some of y'all have probably seen the inside of a laptop or a desktop. Anybody seen the inside of a server before? Or all kinds of equipment, take apart a phone. I'm sure I got old phones, laptops, take it apart, see what's different, what's the same, compare and contrast. So I'll try to make sure it's worth your while on the days that I require it and have to do that require attendance. But again, it's going to amount to 2.3% of the grade. So very, very small amount of the overall grade. This one is very different in my class than what you may have seen in other classes. Nobody spoke up when I asked if it was anybody's first class that every day. So they'll probably had other classes and everything's due at 11:59 p.m. on Sunday night, right? None of my class. First off, that's not the way the real world works. So that just always bothers me right off the bat. Because we have every deadline at the same time, or we're never even have to keep track of deadlines or anything. That's not good practice for the real world. So I wanted to change it up a little. Another issue just comes from my own personal experience. I remember sending an email to an instructor, asking a homework question, and being told, ask in class. The particular time that I'm thinking about, I'm pretty sure it happened more than once, but one time in particular that really led to the policy. Now that I'm teaching and setting the policies, the homework was due at 9:30. Class started at 9:30. It was 9:30 a.m. class. Class started at 9:30. If you tried to turn homework in at 9:31, it would not be accepted. So being told to ask in class meant that I could not get the answer to the question until after the homework would no longer be accepted. That really, really bothered me. So there will always be a chance to ask questions in my class. This is a Tuesday, Thursday class. So the general due date will be the following Tuesday at 11:59 p.m. So this is module 1, 8 modules, 8 weeks, lines up nicely that way. So module 1 homework will be due next Tuesday at 11:59 p.m. That way, if you have any questions, we can address them in class beforehand. A computer is tracking the late penalty. So if you turn it in at 12 a.m. instead of 11:59, there will be a late penalty applied. Keep an eye on the dates, and the computer is very precise. It goes down by 3% per day for every day it's late. And it stops at 50%. I do stop grading when things, if an assignment didn't go well, first off, if it didn't go well, you're probably not going to see a grade show up in the ebook or in the grade book. You're getting an email from me that says, this and this and this and this and this were problems, please redo that. Because until we run out of time at the end, I'm much more concerned with correct than quick. So first off, you'll probably get more likely to get an email than a bad grade from me. But I stop grading when it's an F. Because a high F is still an F, but it's a lot more recoverable, right? If you got like a 59%, that's easier to recover from in the next assignment than if it went all the way down to 5%. So I do have that stop grading point, and the automatic late penalty does stop at 50%. I'm pretty laid back, easygoing, grant exemptions, but there's too many times that exemptions on that late policy, people would like ask in week one, people would be like, can I have a couple extra days or a little more time to do the homework? And then come the last day or two of the semester, they're rushing to try to turn something in, try to get a passing grade because they never turned in any homework. So exemptions do have a limit. Case by case, but the expectation would be that if you need extra time to work on homework, it's 3 days. So the normal due date's going to be Tuesday at 11:59 p.m. If you need extra time, it'll be Friday at 11:59 p.m. Before the late penalty kicks in for the things that can be turned in late. Some things can't be accepted late. If there's any setup assignments, I don't think we have any setup assignments. So that's for like in a software development class, we need to set up the IDE that you're going to write your code with all semester. You need to set up their GitHub repository where you're going to submit the code through. Those have to be turned in on time, which setup assignments have to be done anyway, but you can only get points for them on that week. Can't get points on those late. Discussion boards also, I don't accept late work on discussion boards. A lot of courses, those seem to have drifted into like essay sort of assignments, and they'll just ask you to go look up a definition. The label doesn't fit at all, man. There's nothing you can discuss about that. If everybody looks up the same definition of the same word, what can you really say to your classmates? I guess that is the same definition I found there. So I try to go to more things that can lead to conversational type discussions. And even when I have if I download the statewide shells, did that in the database class this afternoon. All the discussion boards are like that. So I told people don't work ahead on those. I'm going to be editing those very, very soon. So I just picked up that class last week, so I haven't had time to finish editing it. I haven't had time to finish customizing it yet. But they'll be conversational. And just like if you showed up to a party late and your friends are like, oh, you just missed the greatest conversation ever. That's not an opening to bring the topic back up, right? They're like pointing out that you missed the greatest conversation ever. So I treat discussion boards that way too. If you miss the topic and the rest of the class has moved on, you missed the conversation on it. Quizzes are like the homework, except there's only 1 week to turn them in late. Same point deduction and everything, same due time, but there's only 7 days to turn those in. Exams are a little bit different. We have one exam, but exams are on a calendar schedule. So exams open on Sunday at 12 a.m., Sunday at midnight, and close at Saturday, 11:59 p.m. I'll remind you when we get close to our exam, but that's a completely different schedule than you might be used to. So pay attention to due dates in my course. I have the same policy in every course, so if you have me in other classes as well, pay attention to the due dates. In the real world, we do not have everything due at the same time. After you graduate and move out and get jobs, you're not going to have a Sunday at 11:59 p.m. due date on all the projects they assign you to. So paying attention to those is a big deal. It also has a nice little benefit that the last minute in my class is not the same as the last minute in all your other classes. So most people take more than one class, right? Those who put it off to the last minute in this class is different than the last minute in your other classes. So I guess the last minute is a little bit longer. We can say it that way. Pay attention to those. The calendar is a great place to look over in Ivy Learn if you haven't seen this before. since this is a 100 level class just starting out, there's some people may not have seen it. So there's a calendar built in Ivy Learn. It will automatically cross things off when they get submitted and all that stuff. Makes it a lot easier to keep track of. Everything will show up on there. And the important one is over here on the, you can customize the colors, choose colors, turn on and off which ones show in the calendar. No surprises there, but down at the bottom is the calendar feed. So if you hit that, then there's the URL you will copy and paste into whatever calendar you normally use. Because most of us probably have a calendar we normally use, and it's not the one built into Ivy Learn. So just copy and paste this URL. Calendars are standardized. Copy and paste that into whatever calendar you do use, and then it shows up in your normal calendar. All of the assignments makes it a lot easier to keep track of those things. That's a really useful feature if you haven't seen it before. Still a few things in the syllabus. Y'all can read through a lot of this. I just copied and pasted this. Drops and withdrawals. Does everybody know the difference between a drop and a withdrawal? It's two ways to basically not stop taking the course, right? So a drop, you can only do it at the very beginning. That's for like, you're going to schedule your classes and you're reading through the list of what's available and you see one that sounds interesting, sounds super interesting, like the perfect thing for your degree. So you sign up for that and you show up the first day and discover that it's a class you already took and they just changed the name. You don't need to stick around and take that whole course. So that's what a drop is from. It disappears from the records. It's like you never signed up for it at the beginning. It's like, whoops, this isn't the course I needed. I need to switch to this other one. Or like we saw earlier, the blended format has a required thing. So maybe maybe you live in Valparaiso and signed up for a Lawrenceburg campus or Lawrenceburg class that is blended, and you didn't realize, you thought it was going to be, you'd be able to do it virtually, but they want you to make that 2.5-hour drive one day a week. It's one of those that set up like Mondays on campus, Wednesdays virtual. And if you live in Valparaiso and have to drive to Indianapolis every week, that's a lot of driving. So it's like, oh, wrong course. I should have signed up for a different one. You can drop it. It doesn't show up on your records or anything. Basically, it's the first week. March 27th is next Monday. You have till next Monday to do that. On Tuesday, I will submit any names of anybody that has not shown up. I haven't heard from it. They didn't come to class. So those who are in class tonight, your name will not be submitted on that list because I've already heard from you. Haven't turned in any assignments, the ones that registered for the class and then seem to disappear. I'll turn in those names. And then with the drop, it's gone from your records. It doesn't show up. It looks like you never took the course. However, sometimes you might just start taking it and we get halfway through, maybe a little bit more than halfway, get sick or something, and you're bedridden for 2 weeks. In an 8-week course, 2 weeks out, it's going to be a problem, right? So in that case, you might not want a failing grade messing up your GPA. So you can withdraw from the course. It shows on your transcript as a W, which can be taken differently from different people, right? Some people might view that as gave up, but a lot of people will view that as they know when to step back and try again. And then when you retake that course, it gets replaced and all that, but it won't hurt your GPA at that point if things aren't going well. Sometimes in life things happen, and then you withdraw up to April 30th. Anything after that, you need special permission. It's not like if you need to withdraw, people are going to deny it after that, but you have to go through extra steps after that. You have to talk to registrars and maybe vice chancellors and get a whole bunch of signatures after that date. But that's drops and withdrawal. Make sure you know the difference. A lot of this I copied and pasted from default IBTech statements. This one here will respond within 36 hours. If you don't hear from me in 12 hours, something bad probably. If you don't hear from me in 12 hours, please send the message again because that happens. I'm one of those people that check my email 20 times a day. I wake up in the middle of the night. If I wake up in the middle of the night, I'm going to take a moment to check my email. and then go back to sleep. And I will get back to you quick. But again, text messages and Ivy Learn messages are the two things that make noise on my phone. Though, since they did that update where the regular email is embedded in there, it seems to take Ivy Learn messages 45 minutes to get to my phone. So not the quickest way, but any way you have to get a hold of me is acceptable. When was it? Spring of 2019. I was teaching a class and I was in the parking lot sitting in my truck finishing up lunch, and one of the students in the class ran across the parking lot, and I saw him running across the parking lot, and he yelled, "I can't be in class today." Barely even looked at me, jumped in his car and took off as quick as he could. A couple days later, he let me know his father had been rushed to the hospital. But I counted that as valid communication. It's like, okay, yeah, that's an important reason to not be in class, but ever since somebody running like that. Any way you can get a hold, find to get a hold of me is fine, is acceptable. There's lots of communication channels in our modern world. A list of the courses there. So that's the general policies. And a lot of those are just general policies for all the courses I teach. So if you have any other courses later, those will still apply. A couple other things we can look at, just previewing the class and stuff, getting started tonight, but it's probably a good time for a break, right? That was a lot. Which is going to be our general format. We'll go for an hour-ish. It's going to depend lecture to lecture. I've done this class a few times, so I kind of already know what each night's going to be, but I'll say, for now, I'll say an hour-ish, take a break, then we'll come back for a little bit less time, and then we'll wrap up with the lecture part. And this is an active subject we learn by doing, right? So then afterwards, there's time to work on homework or maybe do some of the labs and stuff. They're all set up step-by-step labs. We'll look at those after a break. And we'll do that. And during our scheduled block, so up until 8:50, even though the lecture will have ended, I won't be doing anything but sitting around waiting for messages to come my way. If everybody leaves and I'm like the last person on campus, I might take 10 minutes to drive back to Clarksville. So there'll be like a 10-minute gap. But otherwise, until 8:50, after the lecture ends, I'll just be sitting around waiting for questions to come my way. But that's the rough plan. An hour-ish, a break, a little bit shorter span of time, and then the rest of the time will be just time to actively do stuff. Does anybody have any questions before we take a break? I see head shaking no here. Okay, I assume 5 seconds of silence means no questions. So my laptop says 7:14, so let's take 10 minutes and we'll get back to it at 7:24 by this clock right here.